Hey, this is Caleb from Marvel News Desk, and you're watching the Runaways Season 2 review. We don't go into any spoilers, we try to just keep it to generic criticism, but if you don't want to know anything about Season 2, you have been warned. Also, if you enjoyed this video, check out some of our other videos here on the channel. We'd also love it if you'd subscribe to us. We will be talking about Runaways on our newest podcast, which will come out on Sunday, the 16th of December, so check that out as well. Runaways Season 2 is an unusual show to review, in that it's not often that a sophomore effort is the first time we truly see the premise of a show. With the so-called Runaways staying at home for most of Season 1, the first go-around with the teens served as sort of an extended pilot more than anything. The obvious confidence that Hulu had in the property, with its almost assured second season, allowed Brian K. Vaughan and the show-running team to do things in the first season that deepened the foundation of the characters and ultimately should pay off. Nonetheless, Season 2 is the first time we've truly seen the teens on the run. Early on, this new reality helps the show come to life. The obvious hazards of being on the streets, struggling for money and food, and trying to adjust to falling from the 1% to homelessness makes for engaging drama in the beginning of the season. The setup gives the show an edge and sense of danger that was too often missing in the first season, filmed mostly in mansions. Sadly, the premise is stripped away far too quickly as the characters move into new digs that are more comic accurate, but also which blunt the pointy end of being a runaway in the first place. My general concern with this season, and the show as a whole, is that far too often it feels uncomfortable in its own skin. Sometimes it is a teen melodrama that is almost embarrassed with its superhero trappings, but at other times it's a superhero show that has these long lulls where puberty seems the real villain, not the alien antagonist. Some fans will undoubtedly feel like the mix is just right, giving them just the right dose of each. And the source material, a modern classic comic series, is a bit like that as well. For me, it just felt like the both halves of the show rushed in order to make space for the other half of the show. As such, an adolescent soap opera doesn't have space to breathe, and the comic fight scenes feel too short. The challenge of such a large cast is also obvious in the show. Characters disappear for a few episodes at a time. That's just the nature of this beast. Generally, the show is at its most alive when the characters are all in one room, at least the 6 main protagonists. When it works right, the wit is fast-paced and typically well-timed by the actors, and it can even have an Alan Sorkin kind of electricity in the dialogue. But too often these characters are sent off on character development homework side missions, which don't have the same energy. Chemistry is what makes and breaks this show, and it is often a roller coaster entity in Season 2. Some scenes are spectacular and others just lack punch. The powers of the characters and the special effects of the show also tend to get underserved in production. For a group of kids constantly running headlong into trouble, they seem to always leave their dinosaur at home. Maybe just once it would be nice to see them bring along his muscle. If only the show wasn't hiding him away, lest they overplay their puppeteering skill or blow out their budget. One consistently wonders if the brief VFX scenes are due to the desire of the showrunners or because the property just doesn't have enough financing in the TV world. It's not that anything looks bad, it's just all really short. A mid-season climax point that is clearly meant to be a special effect bonanza ultimately just feels like 25 actors looking at each other menacingly, without anything actually happening. In particular, the Runaways as a team don't manage the kind of combinations or power complementation that make a team up like the Avengers or Guardians of the Galaxy, or even Quake and Ghost Rider on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. so satisfactory. A mention should quickly be made of the characters and their arcs. Nico is coming to grips both with her new relationship and the fact that she has replaced Alex as the de facto leader of the team. Alex is sort of the outsider after falling out with Nico, so viewers get to see him connect with unlikely people in a new community. Chase is stripped of all the things that made him a hotshot in high school, and he's struggling with the more domestic role he has now and how to show sensitivity. Gert has some personal health issues that throw her off her stride, and Carolina is trying to figure out who she really is. This leads her to seek answers in a really questionable place. The performances all have highs and lows, but Allegra Acosta's Molly is probably the most consistent character. Generally, the acting on this show gets a little cringeworthy at sometimes. The material leans so heavily into the world of melodrama, it's kinda hard to take some lines and listen to them seriously. Did they really just say that? Somewhat paradoxically, the show really clicks on two ends of the spectrum. First of all, the relationships and the experiences of hurt and pain ring true. When the characters are people first and superheroes second, they tend to be believable. Secondly, some of the world building, particularly some later season flashback work, is interesting and engaging, in part because it's completely over the top. We don't expect any realism. It's just the in-between stuff can be kind of messy. As a huge fan of season 1, this second season does feel like a step back. One can see what the showrunners are trying to do, but they just miss the execution. The pacing and the storytelling are muddled, and ultimately it feels like it hurts the performances. Too many handbrake turns from one feeling or emotion to another creates this environment where it's impossible for the actors to find any kind of groove, or the viewers. Actors are trying to do legitimate human emotion 1 minute, and then 10 minutes later, they're in the midst of a monologue about cosmic pseudoscience or engaged in some kind of hokey slow-mo fight. A lot of good stuff is in this season, and it's a lot of fun to watch. Fans will probably still enjoy it. But when push comes to shove, what the show really needs to do is to make some more hard decisions about what it really is and what it really wants to be, instead of trying to be 2 or 3 things at once. When compared to another teen show that came out this year, Cloak and Dagger over on Freeform, this is an inferior effort. Season 1 I feel like was better than Cloak and Dagger, but this seems like the worst of all 3 of those, because it's just not quite clicking where it should. Hopefully the show will continue on and develop as time goes on, and I'm hopeful for season 3, but season 2 just wasn't what I hoped it would be. So that's my take, but my podcasting partners often disagree with me on these things, so if you want to hear a little more conversation, definitely check out our podcast on Sunday the 16th, where we'll talk about how we feel about the show. Also see it for yourself on Hulu December 21st. It's definitely worth a watch, and we'd love to have your reactions to it. Feel free to talk to us in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, we'd love for you to follow us here at Marvel News Desk. We put out videos about all kinds of stuff. We try to review things when we get the opportunity, plus podcast videos and some different video essays and all that kind of stuff. So thanks for listening, and see you next time.